Call the meeting to order. Pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Consent agenda, the sign permit, as well as the agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing, conditional use permit for a 70-foot mono. Is that what they're called, monopine? That's the species. Telecommunication facility located at
Mike.
130 Lincoln Avenue.
You mind talking into the,
You had to turn it on. Here's the public forum open.
Conditional use permit for 70-foot monopine telecommunications facility located 130 Lincoln Avenue. Erin, you gonna kick this off?
Yes, I will. So, as you just said, this is a application for a conditional use permit for a 70-foot monopine telecommunications facility. So a cell tower that looks like a pine tree. The property is located within the historic district of the city and within the C2 zoning designation. So telecommunication facilities are allowed within those zoning designations with as long as you obtain a conditional use permit. The project area is approximately 1,600 square feet, which is the base where the equipment will be located and the tower will be located. They're proposing to fence that area. They're not requesting any changes to the zoning, and they have gone to DRC for their design clearance. So the DRC did issue a design clearance. There is a specific part of the municipal code that talks about the design regulations on these telecommunication facilities. So the DRC used that in making their decision since there's nothing specific in our design guidelines. The site is currently used as has commercial buildings and storage. There's containers on the site that I believe one or two of them needs to be removed to locate the pad and the equipment for the monopine, and there's various cars and other debris. The sites surrounding it are other commercial C2 sites, mostly of similar nature.
C2.
But
What is allowed in C2?
let's see.
The similar nature of the next door neighbors?
Yes. So, I mean, what's next door is not quite allowed in the C2, but we're working on getting that tidied up. But
And some of the property adjoining is also residential too.
adjoining this property,
Yeah.
I don't believe that anything that abuts this property is residential.
No, not this property, but
But-
adjoining property
Yes,
Across
there,
the road
to
adjacent.
the north, right?
yeah, so there is residential on that property, but the ones right around the subject property tonight are all C2. And residential can be allowed in the commercial zoning district. Yeah. Let's see. So the applicant who is Vertical Bridge, that they are working for T-Mobile. That will be the carrier that installs this, or that will be using this facility. And they will also allow for co-location from other carriers to put their antennas and equipment on those, on the pole. So the access is via Lincoln Avenue, which is a public road. The engineering department reviewed the application and has required or requested some improvements to the street as part of and that has been included in the conditional approval, or I'm sorry, the conditions of approval. The application meets the setbacks and including the maximum allowed height, which is 70 feet. One of the things that was required on design review was reduce the overall height. So originally they had it at 70 feet plus a 10-foot lightning rod, and they were able to bring that all down, and it's all within the 70 feet. And the lightning rod is now within the tree instead of like sticking out on top of it. We requested, or they provided some photo simulations of what it potentially would look like. We did ask for an additional one, and they were not able to provide that. So from, what was the street? Further up, I guess more north, looking down towards the site. Staff has recommended conditions of approval that will help to reduce any potential impacts. Some other conditions of approval are including to like clean up the site a little bit more. We need to make sure that there is safe access to it for both police and fire protection. And like I mentioned, the improvements that the engineering department has requested. So, any questions for me?
I do have some comments.
Yeah.
Whilst I would love a telecom tower, the property does concern me in the fact that I know this is exempt from CEQA, but looking at aerial images and the existing property use, there is highly probable that there's contamination there from historical uses. And I would recommend a baseline environmental survey just to determine what's there to start with, because once that's put in place, you can't obviously disturb the ground surrounding it and under it. And based on aerial footage, and I drove up there's a lot of staining on that ground, which implies that there have been some environmental impacts.
Like impacts from broken down vehicles being left
It
there?
looks like
and
it was a
they're-
junkyard, and
Yeah.
junkyards known to have heavy metals, oil leaking, petroleum leaking, and with it so shallow to bedrock, it can be highly mobile, the petroleum products at least. And it is a concern that we're sticking something on top of it that we won't be able to remediate in the future. And there will be significant soil disturbance to actually put this in place, and digging. So just a limited site base to establish baseline. If it comes back clean, I'm happy to approve it. But right now, based on the aerial photos and what I've seen, and no environmental studies whatsoever, I wouldn't want to.
We have a huge cell tower just outside of town. Is it not feasible to have another carrier there?
So based on the information that they submitted, they look for dead spots, and that they're saying that this is a dead spot. So the one in Martell and the one in Amador City does not sufficiently cover this area.
Is that correct? I live in the dead spot.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of it.
Dead zone.
Oh, okay. And then we had another proposed one on the other side of town. Is that still in the works?
No, they withdrew their application, and this is, that one was T-Mobile, and this is the same.
Oh, okay.
And I think, the reason they withdrew that application is,
The same.
they were gonna, that site was known with tailings.
Is this property at potential expansion of the existing wrecking yard we have there now? Because it's been expanding over the years.
It's a separate, it's a separate owner. It's a separate, lot.
And then if the vehicles that need to be removed from this site, will they be moved to the adjoining site?
I think they're two separate businesses. I don't know that they're
There's at least
associated.
three, yeah. There's three different.
Or would there be a
lots of-
condition that they not be moved to the additional adjoining site?
I mean, the condition we're putting in there is that the site be cleaned up and be free of debris.
Right.
So it's not really part of this project. We've been working on code enforcement in this area. The street has been cleared out, Lincoln Avenue. And then we're working with the individual owners on kind of remediation of each lot. And again, as Aaron said, there's a condition of approval for this one that it would be cleared out to make room for the.
But you could add a condition that whatever is moved off of the site does not go on an adjoining site.
I guess you guys could do that.
Well, I mean, are you monitoring what gets moved on to the adjoining site?
Well, our code enforcement is meeting with that owner on a regular basis.
Well, you
and
can meet with
want-
people on a regular basis, but it doesn't mean anything's being done.
Well, but things are being done. And so, I think he would notice, okay, there's more. We're going for less and not more out here.
Have you done anything to prevent additional vehicles and equipment being moved on to that adjoining site?
So again, there's been a ongoing plan and checking in and seeing a reduction on each trip. So
Okay.
we're
and then-
monitoring for that.
And then on the residential parcel, that would be 100% removal, right?
Not sure which residential parcel you're
Well,
referring to.
on the aerial photo, I don't know.
Well, the-
Everything where the road comes in from the north,
It's the northwest.
that's our, I think, multi-residential parcel there. And there's a lot of wrecked vehicles there.
Page 11.
So all of that is commercial zoned.
Not the one to the north.
Oh, to the north. Okay.
That's a residential parcel.
Okay, that one, yeah, is residential.
What is that, R1 or R2?
R1.
R1. So you've got stored vehicles on an R1 property too.
No, I don't think so.
No. Yes. So the property on the other side of Lincoln Avenue that is not associated with this property, not owned by the same people, their storage stuff is creeping up the hill onto towards Amador Road, which is that property above is a residential. Or is zoned R1.
Up here? You're
Yes.
saying this is our one?
Yes.
Not all the way up there, but where the,
You're talking about over here?
no, the rear, where the dirt is and the vehicles, that, to my knowledge, is all R1.
Yes, that's R1, but that's not this property. This is not the
I know
part of
that.
the application. Yeah.
So I think the only thing that should be added is a condition that any vehicles or storage containers not be moved to the adjoining property.
It's a separate issue, is the thing. I mean,
Well, you put a condition on there that they can't do it.
They move it somewhere else, then move it there afterwards. I mean,
Yeah, we'll allow an opportunity for comment. Yeah.
Okay. thank you.
do you want to open up the public forum?
Yeah, I'll,
Have a
if
discussion after.
there's anything more to add in the applicant,
Do you want to come up to the
do
microphone?
you have anything to add?
So
That you're gonna move them, you're gonna move the vehicles somewhere else.
We are not connected with the junkyard
Right.
across from the building. And we're as upset about it as the city is. I've owned the property for 23 years, and all I've watched is it deteriorate in value as this junkyard has been allowed to expand all around us in every direction. We have nothing to do with it. The few vehicles that are on that lot will be removed.
And then storage containers too?
Whatever, yes.
Okay.
And it'll be made clear so that they can build the fence and put the tower up.
And then the road improvements will be on the contractor that's putting the,
Correct. Vertical Bridges will do the
will
road
be the
improvement.
repaving the roads?
Correct, and they will build the fence, and they will do everything that's necessary to put the tower
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
in. You bet.
And just to be clear, the gentleman's not the applicant, he's the property owner.
I know that.
Yeah, okay.
You identified yourself.
Anything else
Is
in
the
public
app-
comment?
Is the applicant here tonight?
No, I don't think Vertical Bridge is here.
I'm not the
They're not-
applicant, but I do own the property next door. Just to clarify, it's not a junkyard. I do have a habit of collecting stuff, my own personal stuff. And whatever is on his property is not coming on my property. We're not joined together. So if that's your concern. And on top of that, to clarify, the property on top you're saying is an R1, it's a C2, R4. It's a commercial zone / R4 multifamily residential.
Did you buy that from Sharon Brown?
Yes,
It's residential.
not what it says on the title, not what it says on your map and books.
Is it residential or not? Sharon told me it was residential when she sold it. And she called the city and said.
I mean, I wish it was residential so I could build a house on it, but it's not.
Based on this, if I'm looking at the right parcel on the zoning map, it's R1. So I think you and I are supposed to be working together with Larry.
Yes,
On other
I'm working with,
stuff,
I'm working with
Well,
Larry.
let's,
Ward.
why don't we put that on the list of things we can chat
Okay.
about and make sure we can.
Yeah, but just to clarify, his stuff is not my stuff and it's, I know he's upset about that too, so.
Okay. Any other questions from the planning commissioners?
So I think what I am hearing is that at least one commissioner is not able to make the finding that this is categorically exempt from CEQA. So,
Aaron, do you know, again, so cellular antennas fall under some special laws. There's a shot clock. We can only have so many meetings before it gets approved. If the clock runs out, I believe it gets approved.
yeah.
So how does that play into CEQA in this case? Because I thought it was exempt. I'm not sure that does anything other than.
What are you saying? There's a time element?
So-
Their FCC has
yeah.
what they call a shot clock.
I
and-
think it's 180 days from time of application to when they need to be able to get their building permit. And this, let's see, I think came in the end of October or middle of October.
How long would it be to get an initial assessment?
But they will say they're exempt, right?
This is your specialty.
Well,
Seems like-
right.
Coming up, Mark. Thank you, sorry.
Has the applicant performed any desktop due diligence? Do you know?
I can't answer that. I don't
Okay.
know. They hired an engineering firm, it's been out, architectural firm's been out, PG&E's been out. I mean, there's been a dozen.
Yeah, it's a pity that they haven't come out and can't talk to this because.
But I know that when they were doing the Campbell site, they did discover that there was arsenic in minerals, and that's why they abandoned it. And they came over to this site, and I asked them that very question, since I knew that Campbell had been rejected. And they said they had looked into it, and this site was not a problem.
Okay.
Because this has been going on for a year and a half. They started a year and a half ago.
Okay. Yeah, it is part of these big telecom due diligence, which is why it would have been nice to see, and it wasn't included in the packet. Just to know what it is, because
It's the exemption.
Well, they-
like I've said, once it's set up, you can't work around it or go back.
And you're right, they said that. That's why I asked, because I couldn't understand why it didn't go on the Campbell site, which was much bigger. And they said because of thing, and they assured me that they would look into that
Okay,
and that it would not be an issue and that it would be a slab over the top and there would be no other
okay.
issues. And they've invested a small fortune
Yeah.
to this point, to get to this point. So I don't think it's something they just would casually overlook.
We, do we have a motion on this?
Just discussing at the moment.
What's that?
We're just discussing at the moment. Do you have a motion or?
No, I didn't know. Is there any additional discussion, I guess?
You could add a condition that they provide documentation that there is no additional remediation work or that there is no.
I would be comfortable approving that with a condition. I would like to see what's called an RSRA or an environmental site assessment, an ESA, which is just a walk around, it looks at historical documents and it clears it for any potential impacts.
I know I was very in favor of the last one. I think, I mean, there's a clear dead zone in town for a major carrier,
Not for 18.
which is one major carrier, not all major carriers.
All the others have multiple dead
Yeah.
spots.
Mike,
right?
which company do you have stock in?
Not too concerned.
Which is fine. But as we continue to grow our town and we continue to be so driven on,
I would like it to move forward. I just don't want
With that.
a major infrastructure going ahead with the land being potentially impacted. I would like that at least assurance, which if they have spent this, I'm assuming there is a document somewhere, because
And we can always allow them under their own risk to submit for their building permits while getting that, knowing that if something comes up, that would go on hold. We do that all the time with applicants who are very eager to get their project started. So we can begin the plan check process while they do that, knowing that they will not get a building permit until everything has been checked off on their planning resolutions.
because it could be as easy as just scraping the surface material if that's what it is. I just would feel more comfortable approving that with a condition. Can I make a motion to approve it with the condition that they have a RSRA, I only know the acronyms.
So it's RSIA.
Sorry, I speak acronyms for so many years. Yeah,
Well, you could just make it generic,
no, hold on.
environmental evaluation for any soil toxicity, I guess, before they disturb the ground. I mean, that's what you're looking for.
I'm wanting an environmental site assessment, ESA.
Okay, we know that one. Okay.
I will second that motion with the amendment.
The only thing I would want to see added too is that, and I know your intent is not to do that, but the condition that anything moved off this site does not go to the adjoining site. You guys agree with that?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
The amendment.
Okay.
So do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Even though I have AT&T.
Okay,
Do you have everything you need for that?
I
Aaron?
think so. I'm just looking at the,
Yeah.
I'm just adding these right now to the or the reso. I'll just write it down instead.
So at the end, you said it was a ESA?
It's environmental site
Site
assessment,
assessment, yeah.
or it's a record search and risk assessment, but ESA will be
The
more.
the
equivalent to
contractor
this.
may have already
They-
done
I-
it.
That's what I'm
Guarantee
saying.
they
All you
have.
need is the documentation
Yes.
All they need.
to show that.
It's typical of the due diligence process, but it was not mentioned and they're not here, so.
Like
But it might
mentioned,
be
we spent
something
so
for the
much.
city to have on their punch list in the future too, to make sure.
Yeah.
If there's some marginal sites that
Um,
we know that either have
Town
mine
is a marginal
tailings
stat.
or mine tailings or
Items.
abandoned vehicles or whatever.
All of town has that potentially.
That's true.
Standard for banks to do on.
And if they could ever make these cell towers look like a grapevine, I would really be in favor.
Actually, So the monopine is the cheapest version. You can get,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yes, so you can, but I didn't think it fell under our purview. You can request that it look like an oak tree.
It does fall under your purview.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Because I would prefer it to look like an oak tree.
I just,
That's what
they're,
Bob decided last time.
I refer to them as Pinus celluli is the species, and they never look like a real tree, so you might as well just.
So
put a-
that's just the cheapest version. There are a good 10 to 15.
I've
other
never seen them,
designs.
right? Do you know where one's?
I've seen palm trees and I've seen an oak tree once.
Oh, okay. It's good to know. Thanks. All right,
Considering there are a lot of what is it, the digger pines, I've forgotten the nice name for them. It kind of.
Gray-
fits with
gray
the
pine.
area. Gray pine.
Yeah. all right. And then I think we're adjourned.
Thanks all.
Thank you.